a radical tune for the time, a soundtrack originating from a now-lost blaxploitation film. Boris Gardner's Every Star Opens Moonlight, a chopped-up, slowed-down version of its original recording. The track, popularized by Kendrick Lamar's sample in Wesley's Theory, from the Mars perspective, represented the bass triumph of the song's lyrics, the uplifting of his race and culture despite adversity. Director Barry Jenkins, upon hearing the sample and the inclusion of the anthem in his film, had remarked two creative decisions aligning with the track. For one, the piercing N-word song captured a specific mood for the cast of the film, often mostly black and proud of that fact in a narrative setting. The other, its melody, a reminder of tunes he'd blast from his car, trolling the streets, back home. A personal identity marker, sung loud and proud, however outwardly performative. Planting this flag at the very beginning of the film, Jenkins thoughtfully weaves this song on two audible planes of diegetic and non. The surreal, weighty mix overplays the opening logos and shifts to a muted, stereo-sounding system within one's car. The shift from a wavy, dreamy yet dreary audio to a washed-out mix that seeps into and out of the neighborhood exterior is a beautiful expression of the film's identity, being identity. The countercultural impact of the slur gives the melancholic emphasis and power of the identity marker over to the oppressed, assured in Jenkins' film's identified blackness, and the socio-cultural adversities, expectations, and recreations that belong to it. Specifically in reference to the film's queerness, which is antithetical to the heteronormative, toxic masculinity of Chiron's environment. Where the film speaks from the onset inversely of the song N-word, we see an artistic dichotomy of expressive, usually oppressive terms. Words such as the F-slur are given no retroactive agency of power. They insistently nurture Chiron's constant sexual and physical nature. Moonlight's entitled React structure subtly informs, via nicknaming conventions and the off-subliminal film language, Chiron's developmental journey, status, and acceptance in understanding the turmoils of his subjected identity. Continuing to leech off Gardner's song, the star metaphor is quite a poetic impression of the film's visual identity. The astral imagery of stars hands itself nicely to the effectual cosmos and universality presented in the title, Moonlight, a reference to Juan's anecdote wherein, under the moonlight, black boys look blue. Chiron mistakes Juan's name for the nickname, Blue, given to him by an old lady. With the inference between the blue hues of the moonlight and the nickname Chiron relates to Juan's whole character, outside of the themes in the film, that they appear most vulnerable and sincere under the moonlight. There's a psychological connection with how Chiron's own nickname, Little, and those subsequent, shapes his whole self-perception. This is made clear in the film's most affecting and important scene relating to Chiron's development, the formative experience embedded within the film, the conversation and sexual embrace between he and Kevin on the beach. It is here where Kevin and Chiron evidence the childish role of nicknaming to the overall story.
Trying to put on a show for me, Black?
Why you always calling me that?
What, Black?
Yeah, Black.
That's my nickname for you. You don't like it?
No, it's just... What kind of dude goes around giving other dudes nicknames?
Harkening back to moments preceding the scene, it is important to note Kevin and Chiron's brief shared history. As kids, Kevin looked out for Chiron getting picked on, consistently belittled by other kids. Toughening him up, Jenkins' script makes an important note of their tussle to be contrasted and release of tension later during the aforementioned scene. This is anthropology, anatomical vignettes, the struggles of these two boys isolated to the simple, incomplete movements of partially glimpsed bodies. These are children. Sexuality is absent in these images, and yet the hints of something sensual, fleeting in its appearances. There is an irony etched into younger Kevin's persona that somewhat dilutes his efforts at connection with Chiron. He intentionally refers to him as Little, whereas in the script, Chiron. Same can be said about Chiron's father figure, Juan, subconsciously belittling his character. The second act continues to feature Little's annoyance to Chiron, whose real name is retorted by his bully, Terrell, to only belittle him even more. It is Kevin's assertion towards Chiron preceding their brief encounter, now referring to him as Black, to try to ease his edge. Kevin's choice to impose this new identity marker upon Chiron works on a surface narrative level and a symbolic one. Chiron's quiet, timid character in Act 2 mirrors much of the same to Act 1, and inexperience and fear of any maturation still evident. Kevin's narrative inclusion in Act 2 is much the same. By enforcing black upon Chiron, he attempts to strengthen his self-perceptions, unlock the secret he sees within him. Mirrored in this shot, black is meshed with blue. Jenkins' assertion that Kevin understands and empathizes with Chiron's humanity is explored on a deeper level on the beach scene. As the only scene in the film to explore the physical elimination of the moonlight, there is a subliminal metaphor that stitches the central idea of the film, propagated by Juan.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you want. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
There's a direct juxtaposition between the conversation with Juan to Kevin on the beach, now under the dark moonlight. The ocean, a former place of spiritual freedom to Sharon, and Moonlight work so well together in poetic harmony with the film, given the workings of Mother Nature, the strengthening of the tides at night. The moon's gravitational pull attracts the ocean, tension growing stronger by the minute. A figurative space-time between Sharon, identified with the ocean, and Kevin, enabling their hue as the moon. As each night we are drawn closer to the moon, one day we'll meet face to face, and the ocean will meet its manipulator, as says the laws of nature. The world's, and by proxy Kevin's nurture gets in the way of this, again ironizing and belittling Sharon. By identifying Sharon as black, to keep his own sexual identity a secret, Kevin's violent aggression towards, now formally naming him Sharon to attempt to reason with his true persona, cracks Sharon's own sense of self, making him choose to side with the socio-normative expectations of black that Kevin so bravely enforced, suppressing Sharon in spite of their romantic, poetic connection for a performative, defensive self-exterior to the betrayal of his intimacy. Moreover, to on becoming a future identity, the scene's significance can be found in the momentary, shared solace found in present traumas. This tension just as important to guiding Sharon's choice to feel disconcertingly about his sexual and emotional identity. Reminiscing on an ocean breeze that washed into the neighborhood, personally, I conjure up the traumatic silences within the film, apart from inferring its narrative absences. Namely, the sound of his own heartbeat draws my memory to Sharon's inaudible reaction to his mother calling him the F-slur. Standing still in the frame, Sharon's literal and figurative emptiness birthing out of this conversation with Kevin. Where Juan informed Sharon that
You could be gay, but you never let nobody call you no faggot.
Sharon continuously lets his sexuality be slurred against. Not acting as an outward identity marker, his vulnerability stands for itself, unspoken for. Kevin's allusion to crying is the structural turning point of the narrative, where Sharon can now embody his pain, tears turning to drops during the ocean he feels so free in, with the solace of mutual love and understanding, even if never acknowledged, periodically thereafter. The climactic detox of this pain and trauma, where Kevin helps Sharon get off, Jenkins intentionally devalues our shared intimacy with this moment, turning their backs to us. Calling back, there are hints of something sensual, fleeting its appearances. This is especially important under the moonlight, in the dark of night. Sharon usually turns himself to the dark to hide himself and cry. The forbidding, unquestioning, physically masked comfort and exhilaration of Sharon in this moment is paramount to contrast all of life. The light and dark, the light of such sexual self-acceptance abstained from fronting this for himself. Later spoiled, face to face, each now on opposite sides of the frame. The encounter, for years left unacknowledged by Sharon, turning to the dark of his surrounding environment, adapted to survive the pressures of his cultivated identity, never forgot the permeance of Kevin's light in pitch black, looking blue. Speaking metaphorically, the moon may only come at night, in the bright light and day, but the moon can create a sensation of light so warming in the black of night that its contrasting beauty is exceptionally important for everyone to bear witness to. A romantic phenomena. Once Sharon acknowledges his repressed sexual identity outright, dropping the facade helplessly imposed by everyone, does the withheld image come to disillusioned fruition. Jenkins turns to face us, knowing we can respect the light and the dark, not as a developmental of-age spectacle, but as a truth. It is here, in the stillness of that long-awaited embrace, that Moonlight resolves its central tension. No longer hiding in the shadows, but resting by the quiet, unwavering glow of someone who truly sees him for who he is and was.